All right. If you're a senior power platform architect and you're looking for a role where you don't just, support the mission, but you actually get to build it from the ground up, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down a major government contract that puts you right at the heart of a huge tech shift.
So think of this less like a job posting and more like your personal strategy guide. We're going to decode exactly what they're looking for, map out the entire mission, and give you the inside track on how to put together an application that really, truly stands out. Let's dive in.
So, what's the mission? Well, it's with Global Affairs Canada. And I gotta stress, this is not just some back office support role. Nope. You are going to be at the helm of a massive technological initiative, literally architecting a fundamental change in how an entire government department builds and manages its applications. So what is this big initiative all about? It's called the Citizen Development Program. And the whole idea is to empower business users, the people on the front lines, to create their own low-code solutions. But, and this is the absolute key, it has to be done inside a secure, scalable, and really well-governed framework. That's where you come in. You're the architect. You're the one who builds the guardrails so everyone else can innovate safely and effectively. And this isn't some vague, undefined project either. Your roadmap is already laid out in 5 really clear phases. You'll start with the foundation, setting up the governance and the center of excellence. Then your role shifts into mentorship, enabling this whole new community of developers. From there, it's all about execution and monitoring. But then you get to phase 4, innovation. That's where you start integrating cool stuff like AI tools and Copilot, before finally moving into an ongoing advisory role. We're talking true end-to-end leadership here.
So, the mission sounds incredible, right? But what does it actually take to be the person who gets to lead it? Let's get into the checklist. And listen up, because these are the non-negotiable, mandatory requirements you absolutely have to prove you've got.
First up, experience. And it's a big one. We're talking a minimum of 10 years as a computer application support consultant. See, they're not just looking for a tech whiz. They need someone with a decade of perspective. Someone who's seen projects through, knows what works, what doesn't, and really understands the subtleties of enterprise-level support.
Next, you've got to have deep, hands-on expertise with the Microsoft Power Platform for at least 3 years. And this goes way beyond just building a few apps. They need a true architect who can think big picture, developing enterprise-wide strategies, creating multi-year roadmaps, and figuring out how to plug the Power Platform into an already complex system.
And here's a really interesting one that tells you a lot about the job ahead. At least 3 years of experience migrating old-school, on-premise Microsoft Dynamics systems over to the Power Platform. This is a huge clue. It tells us they have critical, complex legacy systems that need a really steady, expert hand to manage that transition and, most importantly, to handle the tricky data migration.
Now, beyond those big experience numbers, there are a few other must-haves. You'll need a relevant Microsoft Power Platform certification. That just validates your skills. You also need at least 6 months of specific experience in citizen development governance. Remember, that's what this whole mission is about. And finally, you have to show that you've already got your hands dirty integrating the Power Platform with AI technologies.
Okay, so how do you actually prove all this stuff on paper? This is where you really need to pay attention to the level of detail they want. For every single one of these mandatory points, you need to break down specific projects. What was your exact role? What were the dates? And what were the measurable results? For the Power Platform stuff, talk strategy. For that migration experience, get technical. Really explain the architecture and the big data challenges you solved.
Okay, so you can check all the boxes. Great, but guess what? So can a lot of other talented architects out there. So, how do you make your application the one they just can't ignore? This is where we shift from just meeting the requirements to actually building a winning strategy.
The selection process uses something called a right fit method, and you really need to understand this. They are not just going down a list ticking boxes. They're looking for the one candidate who best represents the spirit of the role, the person who is the absolute perfect fit for their specific mission. It's about quality, not just quantity. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a direct quote from the source document. It says that just listing your experience, or worse, copying and pasting words from the job description, will not be considered demonstrated. You have to provide the story, the context, and the proof behind every single claim you make. So, how do you do that? It's all about this. Don't just tell them, show them.
Instead of a weak statement like experienced in Power Platform strategy, write something strong like I developed a 3-year roadmap that cut manual processes by 40%. Don't just say you migrated solutions. No, say you architected the migration of 1.2 million records with zero data loss. See the difference? Numbers and tangible outcomes, those are your best friends here.
So before you even think about hitting submit, run through this final checklist. Is your name clear? For every single project you mention, have you included where you worked, the dates you were there, and a detailed story of how you did what you did? And this is so important. Have you included references who can actually back it all up? Don't let a simple mistake get you disqualified.
All right, you've crafted the perfect application. It's a masterpiece. Now, let's talk about the practical stuff, the fine print you need to know about security, location, and the contract itself before you move forward.
Okay, this is a big one. The role requires a secret-level security clearance. Now, if you've done government contracting before, you know this is pretty standard. But if that sounds like a huge hurdle or you don't have one, just hang on for a second.
Because here's the good news. You do not need to have this clearance before you apply. The department will actually sponsor your application. It's a simple 3-step process. You submit the required security forms with your application, they sponsor you, and then the process gets underway. This opens the door to so many more talented people, so please do not let this requirement stop you from applying.
Now let's talk about where you'll be working. This is a hybrid role, which is great. It offers a nice mix of remote work and on-site time with the team. The office itself is located at 200 Promenade de Portage in Gatineau, Quebec. So you get the best of both worlds, flexibility and connection.
And let's just quickly run through the final key details here. The contract term runs all the way to March 31st, 2026, with an initial period of up to 48 weeks. Good news, there is no travel required for this role, and the language of work is English. It's all pretty simple and straightforward, no hidden surprises.
So, there you have it. We've gone through the mission, the must-haves, the winning strategy, and all the logistics. This is a seriously high-impact role for a true leader who can build an entire program from scratch and empower an organization. The only question left is, are you the architect they're looking for?